Thank you everyone for your time today. I am going to talk today about a topic that worries pretty much every company that makes products regulated by FDA and every individual who is a part of a site that is FDA auditable. A site that's FDA auditable could be a manufacturing site, could be a lab that does testing for submission to FDA, or of course could be a clinical site. There are several common themes across all kinds of audits. The FDA's audit division has certain common rules they follow, irrespective of the kind of audits they do. My purpose today is to highlight those commonalities and also bring to you some of the key concepts of an FDA audit to prepare you for an audit. So with that background, as I said earlier, I'm going to talk about what is the goal of an FDA audit. Why does FDA decide to audit you? And I'll share a lot of experiences. I've done hundreds of audits in the last few years, and I've seen many different criteria that FDA had established to pick a site for audit. So I'll talk about some of those. I'll also talk about what can you do as an organization and as an individual to avoid an audit, to withstand an audit, to make sure that your chances of getting audited are reduced. But irrespective of how well you prepare, you always have a chance of getting audited. So I'll walk you through the logistics of an audit. I'll walk you through what happens during an audit, what happens if you get a 483 letter, the letter of findings from FDA, what happens after the audit once the audit is completed, and of course throughout all my presentation, I'll go through the common do's and don'ts of an FDA audit. What should you and shouldn't you do while getting audited by FDA? And as I said earlier, it does not matter what kind of organization you are. The way you would get audited is very similar. Sometimes people have the misconception, the misperceived notion that somehow FDA has different processes for auditing different kinds of sites. They look for different kinds of things. Of course, if you are a lab, they'll look for your lab notebooks, your instruments, and so on. If you are a site, they'll look for your patient records and so on. But other than the kind of things they look, which pretty much is what you do, they're going to audit everything you do. The process of an audit is very similar. So we'll talk about what that process is and how can you prepare for it. So, I don't know how many of you have been audited in the past, but I'm assuming most of you have not been. FDA audits, although we all prepare for them, are still in terms of the ratio of the number of FDA regulated sites versus the number of audits. It's still a very small percentage of sites that do get audited. And but when you do get audited, or when do you get notified by FDA that they want to audit you, it is a very intimidating thought. It is, most of the times, people come to me when they get notified of an FDA audit, and they are scared. They are worried if they are in trouble. They are worried, what did they do that FDA picked them for an audit. Sometimes they already know that they did something, and they are like, okay, so we got caught. Almost always, the last two concerns they have is, are we ready for an audit? If FDA walks into our facility, will we be prepared? And if not, how do we prepare for it? So my job is to answer the last two questions for you today. So by the end of this talk, you should be able to answer both those questions as yes, we are ready, and yes, we are prepared for an audit. So how does, why does FDA audit sites? I mean, what is the rationale for FDA coming to you? Legally, FDA is responsible for assuring that the product that it approves or allows to be in the market are safe for the people. And by that, the regulation goes on and describes They are developed in a way that's as described by law. They are manufactured under good conditions. They are anything about them, any aspect of those manufacture and testing is reported in a proper way to all the stakeholders, IRBs, FDA, and so on, and they are distributed appropriately. All the investigators, sites, your personnel at the manufacturing site, for example, they are all aware of what the process is and what the product is. So, with that background, that's a very pretty broad regulatory background for FDA wanting to audit you. Uh, because of that, we always say that every organization can potentially get audited. But as I said earlier, the number of sites getting audited versus the number of sites in existence is still the ratio is pretty much very, very small percentage of sites or organizations do get audited. So how does FDA pick sites to audit? I mean, is it just to use the money for NDA review, as you know, for a new drug application, or actually for any approval application to FDA these days, drug device or biologic or a generic drug, there is a review fee. And a part of that review fee is designed for FDA to be able to audit. So does FDA audit people when they want to use that money? Is it because they just want to show that they can? Is it because they like to travel? I mean, I've seen people even say, "Oh, I would get audited if I pick my sites in Europe because FDA auditors like to travel to Europe." And I'm like, really? You feel that you're going to get audited just because you're located in Paris, more likely than if you were located in Paris, Texas? That's not true. Um, and what happens? So most commonly, the most common reason that FDA has, and these arrows, these check marks are moved, and I apologize for that. The pink check mark, the light check mark, should be in the last box, the process validation. FDA audits because they want to validate your process. They want to make sure that whatever you're reporting to them is what you did. They want to go to the site and verify it. FDA does do a lot of things on an honor roll. Basically, you you tell FDA something and they trust you. They do believe what you tell them. But they do reserve the right to audit if they have concerns about certain data. So that's what they do normally do when you submit information to FDA. There are several criteria, and I will list many of them in my next few slides, where FDA would look at each submission to them and evaluate as to what are the areas of concern, and they would schedule audits to address those areas of concern. They won't audit every single one of you, but every single one of you can get audited. Also, sometimes when you do something seriously wrong, when there is an accident at your site, when there is a product recall, or there is a complaint about your product, if you are a manufacturing site, if there are too many adverse events, if you are a clinical site from your site, if there are too many deviations from your site, all those things are triggers where you did something wrong, and of course FDA wants to come and audit you.